Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Breakthrough Challenge. My name is Dr. Jock Mogire from the House of Mastery, and I see we are joined by Anne now, Sabrini, Elena, James, Dungi, Wanjiru. We get started. The rest of the team on Zoom will join us as they manage to make it. We are continuing to speak about clarity today. This week is all about clarity, and we will have two more sessions to do on clarity before we move on to the next subject. But most importantly, the biggest challenge we have is to apply these ideas practically in our life. After yesterday's session, I sat down and put myself through just evaluating where I am regarding the clarity of the vision I'm pursuing, the goals and priorities I am focusing on, using those 5 questions, especially the first question. Am I being honest with myself, really? Am I putting myself to the grind and holding the mirror in front of me so that I see for real whether I'm being honest? So let's speak today about clarity. Yesterday, in the program where I actually the day prior, we sat through what is called a wellness session. And during the wellness sessions, we discussed topics which are meant to be practical to help us ensure that we are living balanced lives. So this week on Wednesday, the topic was mindfulness. In other words, being aware of what is happening inside you and around you, and being careful to not get sucked into the business of everyday life so that you do not go through experiences without carrying anything from that experience just because you are so focused on getting through the experience from one moment to the next. Mindfulness. What I found myself thinking about is how easy it is for us to accumulate knowledge, to have the best notes, to have amazing books, to have a great collection of quotes and amazing sources, to be aware of so many great teachers and their ideas, but we are not implementing what we are learning from them. And clarity is one of those areas where we know that it's important, but to what extent does our awareness of its importance feature on our everyday, on our every moment to moment execution of our goals? Because here is the reality I was reflecting on. The greatest moments of our lives don't come announced as great moments. I like to use the examples in the Bible. If you look at Moses, when he was called, it was just another ordinary day and he was in the field herding sheep. He was just out there, another ordinary day, and there's another ordinary fire starting in that bush, and he let the fire continue burning, and then eventually it becomes curious. Why is that fire not consuming the bush? It was another ordinary day. David, it was another ordinary day for David. He was a little boy in his father's house, and he was sent on an errand to take food to the shepherds and take some food to his brothers who were in the battlefield. In other words, if David had refused to take up that task, or if he had run late on taking up that task, if he had not executed the task as it was meant to be executed, he would have missed out on a moment that would change his life. And that applies to almost uh, every important character that you see in history, in religious history. It's the same pattern. Paul, it was another day. It was just another day. He was headed out to go persecute the people that he knew how to persecute. It was just another journey on another road, and boom, something happened that changed his trajectory. You do not know which of your ordinary days is going to be the day that becomes extraordinary, the day that ends up changing your life before that day happens. And even when that day will happen, will it find you at the grind, on time, on purpose, on vision? intentionally executing because you had already determined what you will be executing on, and you are truly executing on what you had determined to execute on. Execution that is haphazard is usually because there is no clarity. Clarity of outcome, clarity of goals, clarity of the significance of the work that you are trying to accomplish. And so let's speak about the realities of vision today. The realities of your personal vision, the reality of the goals you are here to accomplish, the impact you are here to make. And here are seven realities, and I hope that the language that they are phrased in doesn't sound so simple, and therefore make you take them lightly, because this week about clarity is perhaps the single most important week. If you don't have clarity, you are going to run around trying several different projects. By the end of the next 10 years, you will just have an accumulated list of several projects, none of which have any substantive result. If you don't have clarity, you are going to waste time. You're going to waste energy. You are going to forget your vision at some point and become driven by your opportunities, become driven by your environment, become driven by your need to compare and compete, and sometimes even be jealous about the people around you and the progress they seem to be making. If you don't have clarity, you'll become a victim of the waves and turbulence of your circumstances and your environment. But the worst of all, if you don't have clarity that has become practical in your life, you will never be able to fully respect yourself the way you should. You will never be able to fully trust yourself. You will always feel slightly less than. You will always feel like whatever you are doing, somebody else could do it better. And yet, when it comes to your life, nobody's ever going to live it. Nobody's ever going to live my life. And the value, the impact, the direction of my life, no matter how many influences I have around me, at the end of the day, I am the only person who has the final say. I shared a quote yesterday that says that you can borrow knowledge, you can't borrow action. You can borrow knowledge, you can't borrow action. The source of that quote, the previous quote that I was reflecting on that led me there, is that you can fake action. You can't, you can't fake results. You can fake action, you can fake business, but you can't fake productivity. It's, you are a plant, you can't fake fruits. The fruits are either there or they are not. You can be a plant that is green and bushy with so many amazing and healthy looking leaves, but if you are not productive, the results will declare themselves. And sometimes the results declare themselves when it's too late for you to do anything to change what needs to be changed. So the seven realities of clarity, the seven realities of clarity. Bible says, write your vision down and make it plain. What does making it plain mean? That it's written very simply, easy to understand, it's short, it's simple, it's succinct, but it's also clear. And clarity of vision is proven by the daily execution. So the first reality about clarity is that clarity is a decision to make. Clarity is a decision you make. Clarity is a decision you make because it's it's not an accidental endpoint. It's not an accidental outcome. It's not an accidental circumstance you find in your life. It is a decision you make. One of the most powerful questions I have found myself asking that really helps me figure out, it's the question, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I reading this book? Why am I attending this event? Why am I pursuing this goal? Why am I including this person in my life? Why am I giving this person this time? Why am I prioritizing this action over this other action, this goal over this other goal? Why am I apportioning this much time or this much energy or this much attention onto this goal? It is a decision you make. And the decision is I am doing or I am prioritizing or I am pursuing X, Y, and Z because X, Y, and Z, A, B, C, whatever the reasons are. Clarity is a decision you make. Have you made a decision to pursue your vision based on the foundation of clarity? Have you made it a prerequisite that you will not engage in any event or entangle yourself with any relationship or initiate the pursuit of any business idea, or even on a simple daily practice when you sit down to write an article, to write a letter, to write an email, that you have clarified, what is my intention here? What do I want the other person to know? Why do I want this other person to know this? What do I want this person to remember? Clarity, asking yourself questions on an ongoing basis, deciding that I am going to seek clarity every day in everything that I am doing. That every single time I find myself taking up, especially important priorities, important goals, important dreams, important responsibilities, I will seek to be clear, deciding that I will seek to be clear. I will seek to clarify the why for whatever I am doing. Why am I doing this? And add the word really. Why am I doing this really? We spoke yesterday about the element of conscience, the question as to whether or not you have tensions in your life that are unresolved. The answer is yes. All of us have tensions that need to be resolved. The question of clarity helps bring those tensions to the surface. So, for example, let's say there's a relationship you're supposed to terminate or initiate or redefine or restore, but you are avoiding taking the action. So the question is, why am I avoiding taking action really? What is the truth? Why am I really avoiding taking action? Am I afraid of losing this person? Am I afraid of losing control if I include this person in my fold? Am I afraid of owning up to my part of whatever responsibilities involved in the scenario that you are in? Asking yourself the question, whenever you're procrastinating, question is, why am I procrastinating really? Maybe you're procrastinating because you don't know how to do what needs to be done, so you need help. Maybe you're procrastinating because you are comparing yourself to other people who have been doing it for longer, which means you need to find a way to ignore what everybody else is doing, because if you don't start doing it, it means you will never even be a quarter as good as the other people. Maybe you don't have the resources, which means you need to figure out which steps can you start taking even without the resources as you continue searching for or wait for or seek resources. Asking yourself the question, why? Adding the word really. Why am I delaying this really? Why am I avoiding this really? Why am I so excited really? So sometimes we are excited about things that are starting, things that are new, but we don't really have a clear reason as to why we are excited. So that it becomes very easy for you and I to become tripped by the temporary instead of paying more attention to the ultimate. Every interaction or relationship that you've had before that did not end up the way you would have wanted to, you would find that in your heart you had an inkling that there's something I need to be more aware. There's something I need to pay more attention here. So why did you ignore it really? Why did you allow that tension to linger and do nothing about it really? And because those patterns reproduce themselves today. I find myself sometimes hesitating to call certain types of patients when I have their results. And I specifically have the hardest time dealing with very needy, very demanding patients. But then, whenever I start asking myself the question, for example, why am I viewing them like that? Why am I really viewing them like that? What is the main reason? And why do they make me feel the way they do? I begin to discover, I have over the last, especially the last 1.5 years, discovered where those, those inclinations come from. I grew up among relatives who believed that if they want something, it was my responsibility or the children's around responsibility around them to go and get whatever they want. If they want something from the marketplace, it doesn't matter whether the children are playing a game that they are enjoying and they value, they will pull you out and they will send you anytime. So any interaction I find with people who I perceive subconsciously as needy, as demanding, as insistent only on what they want ends up essentially rubbing me in the wrong way. Why am I X, Y, and Z really? That is the question of clarity. Deciding to ask yourself this question. And I would like you to apply this to your goals, to your dream. Clarity is a decision. Make a decision to be clear. Become clear by asking yourself the question, why? Why am I doing X, Y, and Z? Add the word really, and be focused on, especially on your important goals. Without clarity, we'll just be wandering. We'll keep going on and off course. And sometimes we won't even know that we are off course if we are not clear. The second reality about vision. The second reality about vision is that clarity is a discipline to protect. Clarity is a discipline to protect. You have heard the word discipline used in many ways, and it's probably one of the most variously defined word. But I would like you to consider two aspects of the word discipline. When we speak about armies, the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, we call them the disciplined forces. The disciplined forces. Why do we call them the disciplined forces? Number one, they are set apart. They are set aside from the rest of the populace in any country you go to. And they go through a regiment of training that teaches them to anticipate and be effective in execution of the most important task. In other words, the task for which they have been hired. If they are preventing our airwaves, they're preventing our borders on land, or they are protecting our water bodies, they are the disciplined forces. They carry an identity of protecting, of being vigilant, of watching over the important areas of our country. They are the disciplined forces because they behave differently. They carry a different kind of passport. They have privileges that they have earned by undergoing very rigorous training. The other area where we use the word discipline is in referring to subjects. What discipline is he in? He is in the discipline of the arts or the sciences or the creative arts, performing arts, is in the discipline of business strategy. The discipline where the discipline becomes an area of knowledge that a person becomes experienced in or an expert in. They are teaching and studying and researching and thinking about. If you put those two things together for your life, what is it that sets you apart in terms of how you execute your daily life? What is it that sets you apart from other people? And what sets you apart? Does it set you apart because you are effective, you are intentional, you are reliable, you are committed, you are consistent, you are exercising daily and effective self-leadership in ensuring that you execute on your highest priorities. You execute on your most important dreams. You execute in the pursuit of your most valuable goals. You execute in the areas that will give you a chance to have the most impact and to exert the most significance. In other words, if we could study your life and generate a few learning points, will those learning points create a microcosm of a discipline. Like this is the James discipline. This is the Ndungi discipline. These are the principles which have formed Anne's life. These are the three most important attributes of consistency in Brenny's life. If we could study your life, what is it that would set you apart? And is it a deliberate choice or is it accidental? Are you waking up every day at 5 because you live in one part of the country and you have to travel 2 hours to get to the other side? Or are you waking up at 5 every day and spending some time to improve yourself? In other words, you are waking up early, but you're waking up intentionally because you are pursuing improvement, you're pursuing growth. And then the other question is this discipline protected? Is, in other words, your life, your focus, the lifestyle that you are creating right now, if the environment changes, if it's a holiday and maybe there's a holiday, or maybe there is another pandemic and there is quarantine for another maybe 4 or 5 months, will your lifestyle change just because there is something external that has changed? Or do you continue or even become more consistent because now you're never even going anywhere, you are at home? Are you becoming more consistent? Or an easy way to look at this is what happened during the pandemic when there was lockdown. What happened? Did you become more disciplined or did you become less disciplined? If you became more disciplined, if you became more productive in terms of what you are learning and what you are doing in the areas of your goals, it's because you had clarity and you had discipline. You already had a realm within you that when you get delinked from the rest of the world, that discipline remains intact. In fact, it becomes stronger. So when the lockdown hit, if you found yourself watching more TV, spending more time on social media, because now you're no longer going to work, it means your discipline is not safe. You possibly don't even have like a clear set of disciplines that characterize who you are. Discipline is a choice. Clarity is a discipline. You choose to create a characteristic lifestyle that becomes your discipline. You are your own army who shows up to fight the battles that you need to fight, to overcome the obstacles you need to overcome, to fulfill the vision you want to fulfill. Your choice of discipline, your discipline has to be protected. So clarity, your clarity, once it becomes established, and for most of us, it's sometimes right at the beginning, your clarity is a discipline that you have to protect. You have to protect your clarity, where you keep reminding yourself why this goal is important, not only reminding yourself mentally, but you execute action that keeps the goal truly, truly important and manifest in your life, where other people know that at this time in the evening, Elena will be writing. Don't even call her. She won't answer. She will call you an hour later after she has finished writing. Oh, Victor, no, at this time, don't even try to reach Victor. Saturday morning from 5 to 9, Victor is usually programming. I don't think he will come. Let's wait for him at 10 because he has to finish programming fast before he comes. Do you have disciplines that you need to make a decision to protect? Because you can't protect what you don't have. If there is no country, there's no need for an army, right? If a country doesn't have water bodies, it doesn't require a big navy. Maybe it doesn't even require a navy. Do you have disciplines that need to be protected? Your clarity, once it's established, it is a discipline that you have to protect. The third reality about your vision, the third reality is clarity is a skill you can learn. Clarity is a skill you can learn. One of the most powerful things I think I did most of the last 12 months is using every meeting I go to as a practice for clarifying things. In other words, every meeting I am in, I am asking myself the questions that I hope they the leaders of the meeting have asked themselves. Questions such as, what is the most important discussion that should be had today? What is the most important outcome this meeting can generate? Right? What are the most important voices that need to be heard in this meeting? What is the biggest obstacle that everybody in this room would do well to be aware of? Asking myself questions that position me to think about what is going on in whatever room I am as a problem solver. Imagining that suddenly whoever is leading the meeting is not available and eyes have turned to me and they've asked me to lead today's discussion. So that at every point during the meeting, I am not just thinking about what I'm going to say next, but thinking overall, thinking from an bird's eye view. Looking at, for example, your family, thinking, right, what is the most important step that this family can make to move forward? Allowing yourself to entertain bigger responsibility mentally about what's going on around you as a practice for you to develop clarity. So that habit has forced me to sometimes make decisions which in the moment may not even make any sense. There is no reason, there is no compelling external reason why I should be up at 3:30 in the morning doing these sessions. There is no compelling reason why I should ensure that I am in bed, I am falling asleep by latest 9:15 so that I can be up by 3 in the morning to do this at 3:30 in the morning, except for some of the questions I have asked myself. If I am truly committed to learn this content, practice this content, and to become a great speaker, to become a great coach, what is it that I have to do that I can do despite how busy I am? I'm in an extremely busy program. My days are packed from end to end. If I am going to wait until the busy season goes away before I can start learning the skills I need, that is never, ever going to learn. Clarity is a decision to make. Clarity is a discipline that you have to protect. Number three, clarity is a skill that you have to learn. And you learn it based on where you are and what is available before you, what is in front of you right now. Today, the question that we asked in the last two sessions, based on my past experiences, my current circumstances, and my future aspirations, what is the wisest use of my time right now? Brian Tracy usually uses the word valuable. Asking yourself the question, what's the most valuable use of my time right now, right? Applying this question to other people, looking at some of your friends and maybe some of your family members, just asking yourself, it's not like you're going to tell them, or even if you can, maybe you could, but the most important thing is asking yourself the question so that it creates in you an awareness of clarifying things. If, for example, a proposition is made at your workplace or by your family or among your friends regarding a project, asking yourself questions like, what is inevitable that nobody has thought about? Or what is likely to happen that we haven't given as much thought to, right? Or what obstacles are we anticipating that don't seem as threatening or as impending or as significant as we are giving them significance to? Asking yourself questions that help you be in the mindset of clarifying things, approaching situations as though you are responsible for solving those situations, so that it puts you in the mindset of a problem solver, but also gives you the leverage of being probably the clearest mind in that room. Even if some of those ideas, you don't end up expressing them, but you being the clearest mind, it's having a higher level of clarity than anybody else that you have that is sitting in that room. It is a skill you learn it actively, and you learn it in the mundane, in everyday scenarios, so that When that day shows up for you like it did for Moses and there's a slight burning bush, or that day shows up for David and you've been sent to deliver lunch to your brothers and to shepherds, then you find that suddenly here you are removing your sandals and entering into your destiny, or here you are taking up that stone and killing Goliath. But it's because the day for the burning bush, the day for killing Goliath, found you already practicing clarity every single day, and you've been practicing it on the simple daily adventures. You're practicing it on small goals, small commitments, small objects, ensuring that you ask yourself before you do anything. And you're asking yourself, what am I really doing here? What am I trying to accomplish? Right? What am I not thinking about? What do I need to pay more attention to? If I could do only one task in this goal today, what will be the single most important thing for me to do? Asking yourself that clarity. The more you ask yourself and build the habit of clarity, the stronger it becomes a skill. And when it becomes a skill, it becomes a tool that is available to you that you can command anytime. And reality number 7. Remember, we are speaking about the 7 realities. Reality number 4, sorry. Reality number 4 is that clarity is a value to uphold. Clarity is a value to uphold. I recommended the exercise of clarifying your core values. I would like to encourage you, look at the core values you identified. In fact, without opening where you wrote those core values, without opening, don't open where you wrote them. I want you to see whether you can remember all the core values. What core values did you settle on that resonate most with you? For your integrity, don't open where you wrote them, because the aim is for you to remember them offhand. I had shared with you that the 5 core values I'm working with, they spell the word arise, A-R-I-S-E. What do yours spell? What I'm encouraging you to do today is to make it habitual for you to remember those core values, because if you don't remember them, then they're not playing as strong a role. If you are not thinking about them, if you can't remember them in an instant, they are not as valuable as you would like them to be. I would like you to add the element of clarity. If you already have 5 core values, you're not going to add another 6th one and make it add clarity in there. You might decide to let go of the acronym and just narrow down maybe to 2 or 3 from the previous ones and find a core value that inspires clarity in you. If you already have one that inspires clarity, the necessity for you to be intentionally clear about where you are and why you are there and what you are doing and when you're going to do it and how you will do it and what it means to you right now and in the long term. If you do not have that clarity, we need to build it. We need to make the decision. First, it's a decision that we have to make. Number 2, it's a discipline we have to protect. Number 3, it's a skill we have to learn. And then, of course, it is a value that we have to uphold. Upholding clarity as a value that you will pursue every single day. Finding a space among your core values. Make sure that clarity is right up there with the other core values that you are looking at. Maybe for me, it will be V, arise, or maybe a vice, and replace the R with something with a V. Clarity, making clarity a central value that you uphold, so that being clear becomes almost as important, if not more important, than just taking action. Because sometimes when we take action and we are just taking action without a clear direction, that action often is not as influential, as effective as it could be if we were clear. Clarity is a value. that I have to uphold, that you have to uphold. Number 5, clarity is a habit. Clarity is a habit to build. Clarity is a habit to build. It may sound to you like this is a repetition because we've said clarity is a discipline to protect. Clarity is a discipline to protect because when it's a discipline, you carve out the time for it. When it's a habit, your body essentially knows how to do it better than your mind. Remember, we said that habits, the strongest habits in our lives are the things that our body can do without our mind thinking about it. Sometimes we develop habits that we did not plan to develop. One of the habits that most people have, but they won't own up to it, is that they are efficient, excellent at snoozing. When the alarm goes off, there is not even any thought going into it. The brain, the body knows what to do. The body reaches for that phone or that alarm really quickly, and it snaps it off like that. The body knows what to do. Another habit that our body knows how to do, and sometimes it doesn't even need our mind, is logging us onto social media. You realize that you're already on social media and you're already watching a video, but you don't remember how you got there. Sometimes you don't even remember your password, right? Because maybe it's already saved. So your body has gotten to so repetitively used to doing it, it becomes a habit. Clarity is a habit to build, a habit so that every single time when I'm starting out a task, it becomes automatic for me to ask myself the question. Ask myself the questions. I have found myself every single time, if you look at, for example, some of the places where I reflect on the ideas I'm going to share before I come to share them, you'll find 2 or 3 questions at the top. 2 or 3 questions at the top. The most common question I ask myself is, what's my intention here? What is my intention? In other words, what is it I want to do? What do I want whoever I'm sharing this content with to learn? What do I want them to remember? Why do I want them to remember this? What do I want them to know? Why do I want them to know this? So that centralizes my thinking. It centralizes my own energies, so that I do not try to pack too much, or I don't end up putting in too little in terms of my effort to learn what I need to learn, but also too little in terms of what I deliver. At the other end, of course, is I don't end up spending too much time. Once the intention I have in implementing that significant part of that goal today, once the intention is satisfied, that is it for today, because it's clear what I need to do today. What's my intention? My intention for this session of reading is to enjoy this poem that I'm reading. Maybe my intention is to memorize this poem. So I go ahead and memorize. My intention is to memorize these 3 paragraphs from this famous speech or from this author. My intention is to scan through this book because I know this author, I know what he speaks about. I don't have to read the content in detail. I just want to see how it's structured so that I understand his thinking. Asking yourself habitually, getting to a place where when you sit down to do whatever you need to do, your body already anticipates that you are going to take a breather and ask yourself 2 or 3 questions before you start. Clarity is a habit to build. Making it a habit for you to pause before you take on an important task. Making it a habit. There's something that I learned from one of my colleagues here in the program where I am, which is when you are about to start doing something important, to think about 5 things you can see in your environment. In other words, count 5 different things. What 5 different things can you see? Number 2, to think about 4 different things that you can feel. 4 different things that you can feel. For example, if you are seated down, you can feel the floor. You can feel the seat. You can feel your shoes. You can feel your shirt or t-shirt or blouse or jacket. You can feel your watch. You can feel your phone in your pocket or your wallet. Or if you have something on your head or you have spectacles, you can feel it. Intentionally sensing 4 different things in your body. First one is looking at 5 different things you can see. Second is sensing 4 different things. Third is listening for 3 different sounds you can hear. And this I find sometimes the most enjoyable for me. Just sit there and listen. Sometimes you can only hear 2. Just that curiosity of listening to hear whether anything else comes up. 3 different things that you can hear. And then number 2, 2 different things you can smell. It forces you to become aware about your environment wherever you are with such acuity that I get so excited when I'm about to do it. I would do it, most of the times I would do it before I go to see a patient. When I get outside the patient's room, I, I think about it. The final one is one thing that you can taste. In other words, becoming aware of what kind of taste is in your mouth where you are. So again, 5 different things you can see in your environment. 4 different things you can feel in your body, whether it's your shoes, whatever it is, you can feel it and become aware of where the position your body is in. Number 3, the next one, the number 3, yes, it's 3 different things you can hear and 2 different things you can smell. Sometimes there isn't even one, but you becoming aware, really intentionally sniffing. The number 1, the final one, rather, one thing that you can taste. What you can see, what you can feel, what you can hear, what you can smell, and what you can taste. Right? There you have it. That is a habit number, that is a reality number 4, which is habit. Habit, making clarity a habit. Number 5, clarity is a process to pursue. Clarity is a process to pursue. If you make clarity a discipline that you're protecting and you make it habitual, of course, it starts with you making a decision to be clear, then you will realize that initially you won't be so good at it. But the longer you persist at it, the longer you continue doing it, the easier it will become. Clarity becomes a process that you install and you use all the time. It becomes a skill that you've learned. It's a skill and you are developing the habit. Then you make it a permanent part of your life by making it a process. You create a specific process for yourself. Every time I sit down, I will do X, Y, and Z. And one of those ingredients is for you to clarify what you're trying to achieve. It becomes part of your daily process. At the end of the day, I will reflect. And every time I reflect, I am valuing clarity, being clear about how the day went and why it went the way it went. So that once you install clarity as a process that you pursue every day, it will become one of your biggest sources of learning. It becomes one of your biggest sources for learning. So you've said clarity is a decision for you to make. Clarity is a discipline for you to protect. Clarity is a habit for you to build. Clarity is a skill for you to learn. Clarity is a value for you to uphold. This was number 6, actually. Clarity is a process for you to pursue, making it procedural for you to clarify things every single time and realizing that at the beginning of this process, you won't be very good. Give yourself a year of doing it every day. By the end of the year, you will be probably at a philosopher's level of clarity whenever you are reflecting at the end of the week, whatever day of the weekend, when you have a meeting with yourself to reflect. At the end of the day, when you jot down the things you observed, the things you learned, your clarity will become your biggest source of learning. And of course, finally, clarity is a journey to travel. Clarity is a journey to travel. There is no end point. There is no perfection. There is no day when you will get the trophy. Your trophy is every day. You earn it every day. Your milestone is every day. In other words, there is no end point where you will get to and you have arrived. It is a journey. It's a journey of life. But how beautiful is it going to be when you are in your 70s or 80s, right? And you look back and you see a ton of days, thousands of days of you living with clarity, living with intention every single day. Clarity is a decision to make. Clarity is a discipline to protect. Clarity is a habit to build. Clarity is a skill to learn. Clarity is a value to uphold. Clarity is a process to pursue. Clarity is a journey that you have to travel from where you are today, so that 2 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, you are continually experiencing and manifesting higher and higher levels of clarity. So that even the quality of your life, the quality of your emotions, the depth of your insight, the height of your thoughts, the breadth of your impact, and the intensity of your significance, they all keep growing. And they are growing because your own clarity is deepening. You have learned to ask yourself the 5 power questions which give you a ticket to clarity, but you are also checking yourself every day on the realities, the 7 realities of clarity, making sure that you have made clarity a priority by realizing that clarity is a decision to make. It's a discipline to protect. It's a habit to build. It's a skill to learn. It's a value to uphold. It's a process to pursue. And it's a journey to travel. That would be it. I would like to open up the conversation and see where we are. And yeah, so Brainy, I have seen your message. So I'm going to just open up the floor at this point to the people on the call on Zoom. Let's just have a shared reflection, starting with Elena.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, Job. Um, my biggest takeaway from this is that I'd like to have clarity in the sense that I become my own army. I like the analogy that you use. It's quite what I was reflecting, and I'd like to get to a point where I have that precision of army execution in terms of my vision, in terms of what I set out to do. In fact, I even redrafted my core values to include clarity and effectiveness, just to make sure that I capture what future version of myself I would like to see and clarity being there. So thank you for this.
Thank you, Elena. James?
Um, I think today's session was intriguing at least. It has helped put some flesh to the idea of clarity. It's no longer just something vague that we cannot relate to. Personally, I feel I am looking at the whole concept of clarity in a different way now. Now that it seems actionable. It's a decision. It's something that really starts with me. It's not something I am waiting to come from an external force. And yeah, I love the whole idea. And the probably I think I'm getting the what really comes to me is the confidence that comes with being clear, knowing exactly what you want, why you want it, and the confidence that one might get to say no to things that go against, what you intend to go for, something that is not part of you. That confidence to accept what you're clear about and reject everything else. That big idea is it's what I'm developing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, James. Ndungi?
A good day to everyone. This week for me has really slowed down my thinking. It has really put me on the path of thinking succinctly, yeah, and synthesizing my thoughts. from yesterday's tickets to clarity to today's 7 realities of clarity, I I want to give a lot of reference to number 5, which is clarity is a habit to build, and peg it with your first statement where you said about mindfulness when you're opening the session, being aware of what is happening around me and also inside me, within me. Yeah, and saying about clarity being a habit to build. Uh, making my body easily do it without necessarily consulting the mind. And also when you said uh, why we our subconscious mind most certainly takes us to our social media platforms and makes us to snooze our alarms. Yeah. I think that's a study I should give myself a challenge on to monitor myself on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And being intentional in things and learning to like centralize my mind. Yeah. Asking myself the questions of what is my intentions here, you know, and yeah, purpose to face my days with clarity, just seeking clarity in everything. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Victor? Victor, we can't hear you still. I suspect there might be an issue with your equipment, Victor. Unfortunately, still we can't hear you, Victor.
Oh, sorry, something wrong with my earphones. Anyway, generally, what my take is that having clarity is being aware of what you are doing and knowing it is very important and it's towards your goal. So and I've realized there are certain patterns that it has taken. You have to. It has to be a decision. It has to be a discipline. It has to be a skill, value, habit, process, and journey. And I believe, other than clarity, anything worthwhile should take similar pattern because if it will form part of your life. So I think gaining clarity is a good thing because with clarity there'll be no distraction. You know what you're going to do from the time you wake up. That's my take.
Wow, that's a great summary of the ingredients that we covered today, the 7 realities of vision. I know that we won't be able to hear from Brainy and Wanjiru today. Thank you for joining today. Please apply these ideas. Make sure you pick 2 or 3 ideas that stand out for you and ask yourself how to make them practical in the pursuit of your goals and your vision. This week is about clarity. We have 2 more sessions to be done with this week. We will see whether we will adjust the time a little bit over the weekend. But if we're going to make any adjustments, I will let you know. I'm excited about the next 2 sessions, especially because the final session will be a lot more practical, and they will give us a great way to wrap things up. And trust me, over the weekend, I'm going to listen to all the 5 sessions of this week and evaluate not only how I can present this content better, but what did I end up teaching or sharing that I need to do more of? Did I end up saying something that I have new that I haven't necessarily thought about before? I see a question from Dungi. What did you have in mind, Dungi?
Yeah. I had a question about the forces
Yes.
and monitoring. on the process of monitoring ourselves for the forces,
Yes.
the 10-day mental diet, and the emotional set point. Yeah. So
Yes.
my question about the forces is like, okay, I know it's a process, right? It's not something you can wake up one day and you're suddenly a sage.
Mm.
Uh, uh, how to best know you're on the in the right trajectory, because I'll be waking up each day. Today I'm monitoring myself for the forces and no negative thoughts, etc. Then you know, we're all human. You're not always on your best day, so
Yeah.
maybe you see something you don't like and you completely forget everything. So I was trying to figure out if is there a process, I don't know, a strategic way to come around this thing. Yeah.
That's an amazing question. If I knew a process, I would be the first person to run for it and do it. If I knew whether there is like a software driver to install, I would run and tell them, open my brain plan, please install it. If there was a book that had this idea so that I can boil this book and drink the soup and I learn it and be good at it, I will do it immediately. Here's my encouragement. Don't try to tackle all the 4 C's at the same time. Of the 4 C's, the 4 C's for anybody listening that hasn't heard what we call the 4 C's. So these are the 4 C's. These are the 4 ways in which judgment manifests in our life, and it positions us in the attitude of being a victim rather than being an actor in your environment. And the 4 C's are criticizing, comparing, complaining, and competing. Here's my encouragement. Don't try to implement all the 4. Pick one of those C's and give yourself at least 7 days of monitoring yourself every day. And as long as you find that you are sleeping and realizing that, oh, I've been doing it, you catch yourself, your win is in awareness. When you become aware, as you becoming aware is what you want. That's it. Everything else almost takes care of itself. So what is painful is when you are indulging in it, but you have no idea. But the more you become aware, the more you catch yourself, the greater your ability to overcome it will be. So catching yourself when you are complaining or when you're criticizing, I recommend starting with either of those two, either criticizing or comparing. Because every time you criticize, there are the words you say externally. That's not what we are trying to overcome. It is the emotion that you have inside, because the emotion hurts you. You are like a crucible. Before other people can see smoke and a fire, the crucible has to burn. So they heat inside. And that's the main reason to do this. Because the more you release judgment outside, the easier it will be for you to release judgment inside, judgment against yourself, judgment because of your regrets or because of the guilt or shame that you've suffered before. The journey we are taking is it's not to release the external circumstances. It is to change our mindset and our approach so that if we can stop judging the environment we can see, then it will become easier for us to stop judging the inside which we can't see. We increase our awareness so that the awareness will help us start to eliminate that emotion by changing our mind, becoming an actor rather than a victim, and therefore releasing the environment so that eventually we can also release ourselves. You may have seen this quote that says, forgiving somebody else is releasing a prisoner, and then not only realizing that the prisoner was yourself. That's because when I don't forgive, I am a crucible. I am carrying that poison of unforgiveness. The other person is directed at the other person is only a tiny, maybe 10th of the whole, which means I'm carrying the rest of the poison inside. So I'm trying to clean up the crucible by taking away the need for me to have to hold the judgment. So start off with one of them and focus on just being aware, catching yourself as early as possible until it comes to a day when you catch yourself before it comes up. And once the closer you get there, you'll actually start enjoying the process more and more. Thank you for that question. And that brings us to
I
the,
have a question.
oh, okay, go ahead.
Yes. As regards to making clarity a habit, now that you've been introduced to the concept of clarity, as you are somebody who's been immersed into it, how long did it take you for it to become a habit?
So the initial times I started doing this, I kept falling off. I come on, I fall off. I come off, I fall off. I I could confidently say that 2016, from around maybe beginning of February, maybe 5th, 6th February, that was the longest streak I had that ended up making it easier for me to do it on an ongoing basis. So it took maybe 3 to 4 months of doing it every day, and I decided to do it in a particular setting. And once it became a habit in that setting, then I started transferring it and copying it and doing it in other areas. So it's like creating, you see, for example, if you look at the example of the airline industry, before pilots take off, they have a pre-departure checklist that they have to go through. And that is the regiment sort of that I put myself through, so that by doing it in one area, then it ended up transferring to other areas, because how you do one thing is how you do everything else. In other words, if you find one thing that you do consistently in the same way that requires a particular type of habit, that habit moves on to the other areas. I woke up today and went into the bathroom and brush my teeth, and it's automatic, the process that I'm brushing my teeth, because it's one of the exercises that I decided to make what I call my rigorous exercises. In other words, I do it consciously. And by doing it consciously like that, when I woke up, the first thing I did was make my bed. And I do it consciously in terms of, like, I'm doing it with intention that I want to make this bed. I want to enjoy making this bed, and I want to make it better than anybody else. Nobody should be able to come here and make it any better. And it takes me maybe 2 to 3 minutes. But by doing that as the first exercise, and then I go to brush my teeth. This is another activity I've decided. It's a simple activity, but I will do it with rigor. I will do it as best. There shouldn't be anybody else who could come and brush these teeth any better. And it doesn't take you any longer. It's just a question of how aware are you in regarding how you are doing it. So it will take you a while. You will make faster progress if you limit it to just one activity until you are consistent with that activity. And then you can start spreading it to other areas. But here is what will happen. When you choose one activity and you become great at it in terms of inculcating clarity about, why am I doing this? How am I doing this? What do I want to experience doing this? Just that one activity. It will start spreading to other areas. It will take you a little bit of time, but eventually it becomes so natural that you can't do it any other way. And that it starts to improve all your other areas. It became very easy for me to take the exams that I needed to take to come to the US. Usually it takes people 3 to 5 years to complete the exams. But I did these 3 exams within 1 year, and the content is massive. But that's because by the time I'm tackling this content, I am already in a mindset where every session I sit down, when I walk away from that session, nobody else could have sat in that seat and learned anything more. They possibly could, maybe not a lot more. And that's because I enter into that session almost like a paintbrush. I become fully immersed. My brain is capable of doing it. Your brain is capable of doing it. It's a question of, are you willing to develop the habit? Are you committed to develop the habit, knowing what you will gain by doing it? So it will take you a bit of time, but in the end, it will become such a natural part of your life that clarity becomes your strongest weapon. Every place where you are seated, you're probably the most aware person in that setting, because you have already asked yourself questions that other people possibly haven't even thought about. that is the longer version of the answer. I could speak about clarity the whole day, as you can tell, because I believe this is the one, and that's why I gave it a whole week all by itself before we move to other subjects, because it's the reason why people get stuck. It's the reason why some people make so much progress over such a short period of time. Thank you for those two great questions. Unless anybody has anything else, we will conclude this session here today and link up again tomorrow. Right, that will be it for today. My name is Dr. Job Mogire from the House of Mastery. I wish you a clear day as you pursue your goals and your dreams. Continue living with passion and see you again at the next session.